Baba Booey, we're live. We're not live. Specifically not live. And we're not on center. It's your boy KnTElixar again.
Oh, hang on. My camera's over here. Hi, I'm Tom. I'm moving into a new place, so all my shit is messed up. Let me shift that. There we go.
We are not live. Cannot stress enough how live we are not. In fact, this is a capsule in time, and the Digimon card game exists.
True. Yeah. How's it going, fellas?
Yeah, it's pretty good. I think, like, I feel better about things now than I did a week ago, you know?
Yeah, fair.
I'm chilling.
Yeah, we're doing this one. It might be either a short podcast or it's specifically just the ban list. We're basically just gonna rip the band-aid off right away. Yeah, we're talking about the ban list. Shocker.
Yeah.
You put out a video that was just like starting to talk about the ban list, and then I don't even remember like what we didn't cover.
Neither. I don't know.
We basically only covered Numemon, and then you were like, I hate all these other decks. And like, credit to you, you basically predicted everything else they put on the ban list, which was pretty good.
Yeah, so did Kai tell you what was going to be on it or something? Because like we're all fully aware that Kai is like a Bandai secret agent, right?
Yeah. It's not even. It's very obvious at this point.
All right, let's just go. Jump into the.
You got the link handy.
Yeah, the meat and potatoes. You know the vibes. You know the rules.
Here's the thing, Andrew.
Cheers.
Effective August 31st.
Okay, so I want to preface by starting with like we did not get like a global announcement up until like the day. We all just speculated that we would eventually get this.
Yeah. And
it's kind of interesting that despite it being a list for Japan as it was advertised, Bandai understands that there's no real reason for them to like delay these things. Like the game will eventually get unified anyway, so it's just like, you might as well just like make it effective. It does shake up out the remaining of R17 a bit.
R17
like,
didn't
genuinely,
matter.
Who cares? Yeah, at this point we're just kind of like going through like sets as quickly as possible. Like the end game, well, not the end game, but like the goal is to get to unification.
The alternative is that they just didn't do a ban list until unification, which I think was a piece that we were starting to make.
Yeah, I was getting a little worried.
We weren't happy about it, but it was like that they might not do it. So I'll take like a scuffed rush like format that is completely different because they were like, we're throwing out a ban list.
You can usually sniff them out. Like you can usually sniff out the ban list. We had one earlier in the year for 15, and so. You can say that it's about every like 2 to 3 like main sets.
I can give you something on that. Actually, I'll tell you this. This is I saw this in a guy on I think it was Zenitsu's live chat, and it was this is the second time of the last 3 ban lists. So like excluding the like Band-Aid ban for Ko and Zio that they needed, or Zio and Ko that they need to do for NA Nats. Other than that one, this is the second time that the ban list has dropped correlating to regional blocks. So the 31st of August is literally the last day of regional block 2, and then September 1st is regional block 3. So I feel like maybe that's something we could use to
I thought it was regional block 1 and 2, not 2 and 3.
No, we've had regional block 1 was up until
they're called waves on the website. So
waves, like, sorry, yeah, wave 3 is
waves for us, but like JP different thing.
Yeah.
So I think that I've seen, you know what I mean, it's like nice that they're catching us up, but I also think this is a date they would have liked to give us a ban list for anyway, because they like doing them around the regionals or the waves.
It makes sense.
I think that makes sense.
No confirmation, it's just something I saw people talking about.
I think this is like it in terms of ban lists. The next few sets don't look super powerful in terms of like nothing is really like sticking out immediately as like we're gonna need to have this looked at. Well, so I think the next time we'll get a balance is probably like unification. Well, if I had to guess. What's on your mind? What's on your mind?
You know.
Okay, sure. Mind. Okay, I know what's on your mind, but that could have been fixed. That could have been fixed with this ban list.
Yeah.
You know what? Let's talk about this ban list first.
Okay.
Before we talk about
what's missing.
Yeah.
All right. So.
Fukomon. Do you think they hit the right one?
Did you guys see? By the way, did you guys see they stealth cut the alt art from this page? If you look at
Yes.
like the Mario's Gaming World video, the
There's four of
promo
them.
like full art, yeah, but they dropped
the
it from this.
The GP page had all 4 of them.
Yeah, I know. Isn't that so weird?
It's funny. I mean, anyone want to start with Uko? How do we feel about Uko? Specifically, this one.
I will say, R.I.P. to Big Ukomon. I never had his time in the sun. No, like I don't necessarily think that one or the other was the perfect solution. We've talked a bit about like choice restriction and like complex information about like the Ukomons. But to their credit, the fact that they do their write-ups every time where they explain like why they did what they did, with the context of how this card specifically interacts with Promo Louis, like they are very clear that like it.
One cost hybrid per game is not fair.
Yeah, and also that like the notion that this card is so good in so many more places than they thought it would be, that they hate how many non-controlled decks play Digimon Emperor, is like that's a take. If that's how the design team sees it, I think that's how they see it.
I mean, they're not wrong.
Highlight Digimon Emperor?
Yeah, in the Louis text. Spoilers, Louis is on here too. They talk about various decks using countermeasures against the combination of Louis and Ukomon. They thought more of them were... they thought more decks were using the countermeasures, and it's basically like they hate Ukomon because it's hurting start of main decks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is their whole new design philosophy.
I would say...
Yeah, like especially the Terriermon and Renamon they just announced too, right? Like even that's more start of main stuff.
Yep.
I'll say that I would have preferred a choice restriction because like the difference between 4 and 5 Ukos is like consistency wise, I'll say that like for the Numemon copers out there, right, they will still try to push Nume. Because like I think there'll still be like early Nume representation to see for people who will try to see like, oh, you know, is this deck still does this deck still work? I think in terms of speed, the deck will be similar to its like BT15 like era, where it was like when they opened the Uko, it feels like a little bit of a high roll. However, that's in terms of like seeing the Uko. Like they'll see the Uko a little bit more than they did in BT15. However, they won't have the memory gain from this. They'll still have the 1 cost 1 for search and, you know, draw power, but I think that Uko is like worse for Nume, but
I agree.
better for other decks.
100%.
However,
it's a weird one because like consistency is something that isn't as like objectionable. When someone has consistency, you kind of just go cool. Like when the Uko pushes out and you reveal top 3, it's like okay, cool. But when the Uko pushes out and hammer sparks you, that is like an immediate just like slap in the face. And I feel like also logistically this is a promo and therefore is more annoying to get a hold of. So by cutting it down to 1 as opposed to cutting the one that's available in main product, it's probably more economical for Bandai to leave the Uko that's at 4 to be in the readily available product.
Okay, I think I like that take. I did not consider like promo versus like main set card.
Yeah, I'm just thinking like of the two, it's the more annoying one to see splashed in every single deck. It's like, oh wow, this deck that didn't like used to be really tight for memory randomly sparks every single turn for no reason. That's really annoying. Also, it's a promo. I didn't get my demo decks. I don't have it.
I would have preferred a choice restriction. I think like
same.
I think a choice restriction would have done about the same in terms of like, okay, you can only play one or the other, but it's not like the promo Uko goes in many things, maybe like hybrid decks that are trying to like aggro a little bit more.
Yeah.
But, you know, for like exactly like Numemon, it would hurt a bit more. Like they would still have the speed, but they won't have the consistency from the 1 cost Uko.
I think the other thing is like the decks that are going to still subside with like a an Ukomon engine, like the red ancient Garurumons and stuff. Like the hurt to this card is a Numemon touch and not a hybrid touch, because the hybrids already have tamers for their memory manipulation. Like that's the point of their archetype. Numemon legit, like in 15 they used to have to play Satskis. They don't anymore. There's just enough memory manipulation from having enough dig to find more Ukomons now that they ever could have needed. And like the deck still subsides with like, oh, you know, I've got Garamon D-draw bullshit and stuff like that. Like there's a lot of like just dig in Numemon, but when they can pay for it for nothing, that's where it tips it over the line. So like
I will say, go ahead.
I was gonna say I think I agree with both of you that I would rather had the maximum number of Ukomon somebody can play before instead of 5, because it would have probably hurt the other Uko abusers more.
Mm-hmm.
But in the context of this being the ban list where Bandai says no more Numemon, not no more Ukomon, then I get why they did it this way. Also, like they clearly want to give like some of the hits to other archetypes that abuse this card that are in here are like not necessarily death knocks, whereas like the stuff that they put in here for Numemon is like
they
pretty
could also
much like wait till the next time you get product.
They could also just retrain this thing. Like the 1-cost Evo is incredibly relevant, actually somewhat annoying. But like it's an actual cost for that Ukomon that then it's like if this Ukomon went memory neutral because you paid 1 the turn before and then were able to cheat the next turn, it makes sense to hit this one because the 0-cost Evo is egregious. And then if they still want to bring this design back for future things, maybe they'll either change the Digivolution costs or, you know, restrict it in some way. Just taking this one that was like hey, we're testing an Ukomon design, and then we're like, we have made a mistake and we've improved it for the second one. This one of the two makes the most sense to get rid of. However, I don't know that it was necessarily the right one of the two. Like a choice restrict, obviously, to bring the overall number down would have been great, but I don't know. There's a lot of
they
real
weren't
good
gonna hit
decks.
the new one. They weren't, like you said, they weren't gonna hit the new one because it's in a booster set, but also it's in the regionals pack that starts the day after this ban list comes into play. I don't think they want everyone to be like, dang, I can only play one of my regional trophy card.
Yeah, I will say, like we talked about how like it feels like this is like I mean it is and it isn't a Numemon ban list. Like I think they're trying to hit a few more things other than Numemon. But at the same time, like Numemon as a deck, the feels bad about Nume is like their strong hands like auto won the game. Like if they go like Uko plus Gary Pitch Platinum evolving to Nume X, like they effectively like
yeah, that's everything. 2 turns of power.
You had to answer the Gary straight away.
That's like, okay, I have everything that I need where I like need them, and from then on, I'm just so far ahead. The other thing is that once we'll talk about Lou is that like Bandai I think want people to take out Digimon Emperor from their decks as like a common tech.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are like, oh, finally we can go back to not playing Digimon Emperor, but I don't think I will. I think I don't really have a reason to not play Digimon Emperor, considering the amount of decks that are not greedy, but so much of their power is like, okay, I'm going to resolve my start of turn rookie, you know, generate my value, and then training into my level 4, and that'll like do like a large portion of like my turn for effectively still not having spent any memory. I think like Digimon Emperor low key will still be seeing like a ton of play. And I think it'll be something that people don't realize is that like people will miss Digimon Emperor and it will find its way back into deck lists.
Ukomon was the CIA putting fentanyl in the streets. Now everyone's on Digimon Emperor and there's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah, I mean, people like there's a ton of, especially in a context where we still don't have scrambles and won't for till a long time from now. Like started main stuff just has to come from raising essentially, because every other point comes with interaction, and by avoiding that, like Emperor just gets you around so much of the power threshold.
Good point. I think when we get scrambles, I think you're all 100% right. Maybe Digimon Emperor won't be as relevant, but until we do.
Yeah, like Patamons from the drop are a lot more menacing than the Patamon I can play around. And like, yeah, you can pill them on or whatever, but then at that point we move to the next floodgate, and that's the healthy format of Digimon.
Yeah.
Louis.
This card is from hell, and I'm really. This is like, there's a couple things on this ban list that I like. I'm really. The next card on the ban list is my favorite card on the ban list, personally speaking. But this is
Louis.
Yeah, I think the thing with Louis is that like I saw somebody tweet about this in reply to one of the DTCGCN like China meta page, and they were like, what do you think of the ban list? And it was like, Louis made my deck into a BT17 deck. And I was like, that's so sick. Yeah,
I'll say Louis in multiples. I think like the card is like uber problematic, like the fact that you can go like Louis like every single turn. Like, okay, I'm not gonna say that like I have a serial Omnimon on the fact that like I built around Louis. Like, Louis was such a like insane card, even in like BT15, but it just didn't really have like a ton of ways to.
You only had 4 Ukomons.
Yeah, you only had like 4 Ukomons.
Yeah, and the decks that abused it were still missing their next wave,
yes,
too.
like I was abusing Louis to contest like Numemon turn 1, right? Like it was like my 3-card combo of like Lydramon Promo v Louis, and that's how I was contesting Numemon's turn 1. I think Louis is like wrong place, wrong time. Like having level 6 that generically plays Tamers, okay, and a certain Louis with like Bond Tamers and Analog Youth. It's a little bit too much.
He was really funny though.
Louis is like the decks that he happens to interact with. I think the thing is that like there are no decks that he works in where he only does okay. Like every deck that continuously plays more than one copy of Louis is like, oh, that's because this is the high roll of my list. Like even fucking Eosmon is like, this is a white tamer that if I hit this off the drop for free, I win the game. And it's just super degenerate.
I remember when we, like, me and you specifically, like, when we were fucking coping War Greymon in, like, BT15, we were like, oh, we could, like, play a Louis because, like, like, we'll have, like, on our off turn, we can, like, put an Agumon in the back, Louis for 2, and then, like, we can go into the Warp War Greymon and, like, immediately, like, clap back after we've been removed, and that was like, whoa, revolutionary.
Yeah. They have clearly known how bust up Louis' gimmick is for so long. Like the existence of Taikari from 17, like the white 2-cost one, is like it gives you the egg, but you are not promoting.
Is it 2 or 3 costs? I think
3
it's
costs. Yeah.
Is it 3 costs?
Yeah,
I think it's 3 costs. But still,
that card is so much slower than Louis, though, huh? Yeah. So like, I think there's like a real like understandable omission there. That's like the more that they're not necessarily against. We said this last time when we did the ban list discussion when we were all traveling, and the thing we said then was that, like, how much a promote is worth. It's a green tamer thing. We've had hatching the whole time. Like, we've had Analog Youth since EX1. Like, that's like 7 months later into the game's life, we got Analog Youth. We've had the Secret Greymon does the same thing. You can hatch and raising or play the tamer.
Ruin mode.
They don't mind Ruin mode. They don't, or Angemon. They don't mind giving you the thing to rebuild in the back. It's powerful and kind of broken and has predicated a lot of loop stuff over the years, but it is just so much less stupidly degenerate than having free promotes at different intervals in your turn. Like the Math Gabumon aggro, or like hell, even like Agubond and Gabubond coming back. Like those decks are like conceptually fine in terms of like, well, this is a strength of like the Bond Tamers, or this is a strength of these cheap Digimon that can generate memory or draw cards, or like recycling end of turn effects like Ancient Garurumon or whatever. But like comparing that to just on play promote is just, it's insane.
It is incredibly relevant that there's like with the Bond Tamers and like what the UGs whatever, it's like push up non once per turn, because they're like there's none of those colors are half green. So there's no support that like free play is like a tie that just happens to be half green, and then suddenly Mimi feels like playable in those decks for your cost. So like having a scaling promote card that at worst comes down for 2, but if you hit it out, that's the crazy thing as well. You hit it out of security, and now suddenly that's an extra memory that you weren't accounting for on your lethal clock the turn after is just filth. I think being able to squeeze, it scales, and it also sometimes pushed you out of Emperor ranges, which facilitated the need for more Emperors.
Yes.
Because you can sometimes put down 1 and you go, okay, you're going to lose basically all the memory you were gaining back. And then a Louis pops out and you go, ooh, that's unfortunate. Time to put down the 3rd Emperor.
I played against like the Gabu loop deck, like at the Evo Cup. And game 1, basically like my opponent decked himself out. And like game 2, I had double Emperor like out, but like with Louis and the Bond Tamers, they were still going about even for like promoting and like not losing to the Emperor. And it's like, it's wild that like, this card is just like every turn I'll get 1 memory, and then on my next loop I'll get 2 extra memory, and then on my, if God forbid my 3rd copy, I effectively have Mem Setter when I raise plus whatever you passed me. So like It just does too. It's not that it does too much. It just makes the game really weird. And I think Bandai doesn't like when we're playing weird Digimon. They're willing to like let decks like Numemon be around for like a year, Blue Lord for a year, Greymon for a year. Like these powerful decks like be strong for a while because people want to feel like their investment is like worth it. But when it's something like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna like take like 3 turns effectively by just like looping Louis and Bond Tamers.
The other thing that it feels really strange to me is it feels like this is like I don't necessarily think anything that was already on the ban list should have come off. Like that, and my opinion has remained that the things that are one should also have been at 0.
Yes,
but I think that there's a lot of cards in the ban list or in decks that are no longer seeing a lot of meta relevant success that would have made like we live in like a Schrodinger's timeline here where it's like because of Apocalypse we got Numemon, but like Numemon's like all of the things that Numemon progressed towards doing are like because there's just no tamer hate in the format. Like there's no Black War Greymon anymore. We like Louis requires suspending. Like like on play hate. Like we're finally getting Eosmon to stop his on play stuff. But like, can you imagine if we had a good Quantum deck this whole time, or not Quantum, Quartzmon deck this whole time, and that tamers were stuck sideways regardless? Like there are parts of what make this card broken that are conceptually fair, but like they don't matter in the context of the decks that use this card. Like a nice nice Quartzmon control deck, idiot. You've taken 6 damage, and there's just no like until they do something to either make tamer disruption or hate more viable quicker, or they like give some of those old decks a bit of a power budge. I don't think these cards could ever have existed in a world with no counterplay.
I understand what you're saying. I think like tamer decks where it's like tamer for me but not for thee is like I find it like a little bit not cringe, but it's like okay, so it's fine for the Black War Greymon deck to like control tamers, but then that deck itself plays
a million. That deck would play the shit out of Louis. That's the problem, right? Like start of main Agumon to go into Greymon for the VWG turn. It's insane.
Yeah, exactly right. It's like I think we need like more meaningful ways to like interact with tamers. I think like blues like can suspend. Like no, they can suspend, right? Like,
yeah, that's like, amazing.
That's fine. Like green, it just more colors need to have like more modern archetypes need to have at least like one for. I'm not saying that every yellow, blue, green, red deck from now on that comes out needs to interact with tamers, but I feel like at least like every other set or so they need to give decks a way to like interact with another axis, because like some decks like against the hybrid deck, like Galamon against hybrid decks. Okay, I'm just like, what are you don't interact with.
Yeah, you hope you burn the tamer instead of checking it, and that's the best you've got.
And they can still play it out, and these are all like, bodies that will convert into more value at some point.
It would be cool
like aces are supposed to help, but like the aces are not at the power level of tamers, and it's crazy.
Yeah, it'd be cool if we got something like the color identity for tamer interaction was still relevant. Kind of like how the Dragon Knights cards are a great example of that, like the new 6s where it's like can't raise a Digimon that's like got X DP or something. It's like tamers can't go sideways until you have a Digimon that has X DP on the board would be like an interesting lockout for red, or by play cost for black, stuff like that. Because I mean they're starting to do some play cost, like the play cost deletion for tamers is always really important, because they're like, okay, you can pop the 3s but no popping memory setters, stuff like that. It'd be interesting to see if like other colors. Yeah, Dark Knight.
Yeah, Dark Knight's a big one. Listen, this is the ban list video, but like we're moving towards this conversation. Well, like the 3 of us will be talking about this on a pre-recorded video again in 4 months, because like the cross art cards are incredible. The blue flare stuff is really solid. The Dark Knight stuff might actually make it over the finish line in a world post ban list.
And
that needle just keeps going. Well, we haven't seen you yet. It'll happen for real. I don't know. Is he even in the manga?
I don't
I just realized I don't care. Never mind.
I think it's Nene again. If Nene possessed by Shademon
is she a bugger card in this set?
The non-possessed one is not. And I looked, and we only have 2 Twilight / composite cards, because the rest of my shit is undead or doesn't have Digicross requirements.
We are moving towards doing this again, though. Like, if you hate cross art, they're gonna print Hokuto, and Hokuto is the cross art hate tamer, because when you play it, he steals all their memory. He steals your draw cards. Like they're just gonna keep moving the needle down until we get something that interacts with these tamers.
And Hokuto actually costs 2, unlike the nebulous like 3/2. He
costs
really
one,
costs
right?
2. Yeah, true.
Okay, let's go
Anyway.
to the next card, and I think this one's. I don't know how I feel about this one. I think
It's great, but they forgot something.
No, okay, so like, I don't have a good case like for me because like if you go you know KnTElixar and you go newest video and like the last like
Yeah,
5 videos.
it's all you doing like 4 Hammerspark Ancient Garurumon turns.
I'm
Yeah,
telling
it's
you,
all
one of the members works at Bandai, and they're like, I fucking hate this KBeeDS guy. Get this card out of here.
No, because
It's like one double Hammerspark to pass to 1.
like I was basically showing off this idea that I had for, well, okay, it wasn't my idea. Let me change that. I was trying to push somebody else's idea of this deck, right? And it's me just like mollywhopping like Imperial, Red Hybrid, fucking Diaboromon, literally like any new deck. I was like, that's fucking crazy, bro. Check out what this one Hammerspark does with like Beowulf or like with ancient whatever, like the dual color card, and it was the fact that I could just like ruin mode people, and you know that's is Hammerspark the problem or is ruin mode the problem? The trick question. They're both problematic.
Yeah, the Venn diagram is a circle in that instance.
However, I will say that I was pushing a different, version of the deck. Like, we know that, red base, blue hybrid, blah, 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 Hongshu, me, boring, whatever, cool. You want to play Muchomon and Gotsu and 8 Ukos, that's on you. That's very cool, bro. Anyway, I didn't even show off, like, there was different lines in my head that I cooked up, like, later. I was like, oh, maybe this week at locals. However, the deck did lose to Numemon. So I will say, for what's worth, they gutted my fucking, my deck, but they also they got rid of Numemon, so the matchup's unplayable. I think next week of like Andrew's like video cycle, I literally lose to Numemon in like 10 minutes. It's unplayable.
I can't believe they only hit Hammerspark. That's my like. I know it's because like blue is the best color in the game right now, and like that's why they hit Hammerspark first. But it is crazy to me that like they didn't look up Blinding Ray, Grav, Crush, and Jack.
So I think genuinely I think it's not even that.
I don't know,
it's
bro.
For
I'll double Grav Crush to turn the ancient Greymon into ruin mode.
I genuinely think it's for the same reason we highlighted in our like criminal ban list dodgers. I think the fact that Hammerspark has a security effect is incredibly relevant.
Yeah.
Like, sure,
okay,
it's a zero
Jack
cost.
Raid?
It's as okay. Jack Raid, Jack Raid and Parabolic Junk are the worst of the 4
by a lot,
by a comfortable margin. But like of the relevant ones, blue, yellow, red, and green. Like
green's already at
one, and the only other one that had a security effect is Hammerspark. Ice Wall's on the ban list for very similar reasons. Same effect. I think Hammerspark, if Grav Crush or Blinding Ray had a security effect that did anything,
they would have been on the ban
they
list.
would be here too. I think genuinely the fact that they are dead cards in security is enough for them to go, well, if you drew it, you drew it. And if you didn't...
Yeah, it's like there's no bad place for Hammerspark to be. Like, it's good in security and it's good in hand.
Yeah. I'll say this just to like preempt it because like obviously like Marcia said like it's interesting that this is the hit that they went with to hit this specific deck, and like I said, maybe it's because blue is performing well or not. I have just come back from the GAO event in Japan. If you guys are not ready for the implications of good purple hybrid and like what happens when they can digicross into a purple level 6 and then just turn it into a ruin mode, and they do that every other turn, and they have Jack Raids and they're abusing them, it's gonna get stupid. Like, they have not solved the problem. Cheap level 6 into level 7 ruin mode is the problem.
We should stop making cheap purple or yellow level 6s. I think this is...
Or they should hit ruin mode.
Or they should hit ruin mode. One of the two.
I agree with, like, okay, I think purple hybrid as a deck, it probably didn't get as much, like, highlighting in the format due to, like, Numemon just probably, like, stomping it. So I think, like, they want you to, like, oh, look, you can play purple and, you can play all these like hybrid decks. Like they want you to play the upcoming decks. Like they with this ban list, they're very intentionally saying okay,
Yep.
you know, your current decks, they need to go. Some of
My
them.
element successor on shelves now.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, shit, dude. Purple Hybrid is also the Tamer. Like that deck changes the color of your
Yeah,
Tamers.
exactly.
It's
Which is a
sick.
great idea if they weren't all still called Koji or Takuya, and then it didn't matter. But like, you know, it's a cool idea.
The other thing I think, like, you could say that Hammer Spark is also maybe an Imperial hit. Like, technically,
Yeah.
in
It's as close as we've got.
Yeah, in BT16, like, Imperial was on like 2 to 3 Hammer Sparks if you were smart and, you know, had a pulse. That was like the correct thing to run, because Hammer Spark in blue decks draw, and I will say this over and over, and as many times as I need to say, when you're drawing through your whole deck, you want to draw into cards that do something, and Hammer Spark is the best card you can draw into.
Yep.
Yeah, like if you already have pieces and you're drawing, like you're winning more, Hammer Spark is winning more of a card.
People were like so desperate to spend and use this card advantage and memory advantage that the list that won was on blue card. Like they'll play anything if it furthers the board off their incredible tempo. So this is just the most broken tempo card blue ever got, and it's a shame that they didn't take out the trash with this.
You know what's really funny? Terry lent me 2 of his like Altar Premium Bandai artwork Hammer Sparks. I have 2 in my binder. I technically now have 2 playsets to put into 2 different decks. So that's cool. Thanks, Terry.
Imperial and Agaru.
Yeah.
Bro looks after you so well.
Speaking of blue decks that take an option away.
This is a 2-deck hit.
Yeah, it's a great choice.
This is technically several decks hit, but we all know whose fault it is though.
Oh yeah, it hits all the DNA decks actually.
Yep.
It hits Shaku
a lot.
and Valk.
It also just hits
Also free.
every O2 deck that wanted to play any form of armor. They printed a bunch of new armors for anything. It's like, okay, and here's your payoff for playing not Vmon armor. You can still make the big fuckhead after you've done your cute little, I'm Shurimon, wow!
Yeah.
Yeah, like after you've done that.
I think they want us to make level 5s. I think this is like, I've seen a lot of people talk about like, there's another hit here to Yellow Vaccine. But like, the hits that they have chosen, this is a great one. But the thing that I feel like this says that a lot of people don't take as much notice to, like obviously this is like, we're not hitting Batamon, we're not choice restricting them, like we're not hitting the 6 or the 3. This is the state, work with it. But what this does is it incentivizes you to actually have to figure out a way to play a level 5, because like they're not crazy about every deck skipping their warp evolving. Like they want you to, like, you know, is it Yellow Vaccine currently? I mean, that deck's gonna look entirely different in a couple weeks anyway, but like, you know, is there a case for these other DNA decks to actually have to make level 5s instead of just banking on turning Shurimon into Magna? Like, I don't know. I think it's interesting that like the low-key the Rapid one is also kind of degenerate, and I think that in a long-term health of the game question, it's just a different thing because it doesn't have a broken Magnamon to turn into.
Yes, right. Rapid X is no Magna X.
Exactly.
Like Rapid X's value comes from like board clearing and applying like, you know, a aggro deterrent, whereas like Magna X is just a
it's literally the best way to pass turn.
It's like 3 damage. Like Awakening enables 3 damage, and it's like why?
Yeah, I think it does change how you have to look at this stuff though, because they really like it is a premium that Magnamon gets. Like even in Vmon armor, like it is a premium that they want you to play Magnamon.deck with Magnamon X.
Yeah.
If you're gonna play Armor Pile with Davis's friends, that's a different thing, and they don't want you to have it the same way.
I will say very quickly before we continue with the ban list. This ban list goes back to sort of like the philosophy of like Bandai not hitting supers and secrets. And I think the EX5 ban list was like an exception, not the rule anymore. So after this ban list, I'm not expecting them to touch SRs unless like they absolutely have to. Like unless it's like the card is like uber problematic, like in the case of like Apocalypse and Divis. I think for the most part, we can expect them to go back to hitting things around the problem a little bit. I mean, Awakening was a problematic card. Like it did enable, you know, Yellow Vac in a way.
But what I think was interesting about it was that it was just another tool in like an over-tuned toolbox that was abusing several things. This was just one of the things that, like, you know, it made the big boss monster. But like the thing I always maintained was sure, they make a Magnamon, but if they have to actually pay the 4 cost for their golden armor, is them then spending 3 to turn into Magna X really that egregious? When they push out gain 1 memory for evolving into a level 4, then spend 3 to turn into a Magnamon, yeah, that sucks, but like, is it the spend 3 to get into a Magnamon, or is it that they gained a memory to go into a level 4 that should have cost them 4 memory?
Yeah, I mean, you're right that Patamon is egregious, but also like the implications of this being searchable in Yellowback and not searchable in other stuff is like Memset or TK takes this fucking thing out of security for them.
That is very fair.
It's super stupid. Like, you know, trainings are broken, and but everybody has one, so we don't touch them. But like finding things like this off those, like if it's in your color,
black Heike.
Yeah, like there's so many more things they could have considered, but that is what it is.
I would like to see a replacement, like retrain of some kind that lets armors,
maybe a blue one.
like armors do something in like Rush
or a white card, like
like
freaking
texture.
armor texture.
Yeah, like a new texture. Yeah. I think would be cool, but yeah, like as I've been testing very frantically to figure out what the hell I do now that my Goro matchup just got significantly harder. I've made my peace with it. It was an annoying hit, and I think there were more creative ways to go around fixing armor vaccine without like annihilating Magna, but like because of how long this ban list is, it's fine. It's fine. It's knee-jerk reaction. Damn.
I think it's also like the fact that like if they hit the tier 1 decks, then like they don't want the 1.5s to immediately take over. Like in a world where like Nume and Yellowvac are hit, like blue armor would be the next in line to sort of like contest. Like I think blue armor also has a good Imperial matchup.
Yeah, it's grindy.
It's grindy, but it's like slightly favored to you.
Now it's definitely not.
Yeah, definitely, probably not.
We lose a lot of speed in this card.
And that's the other takeaway from this ban list, is that they really want Imperial to be really good, I think.
Yeah, we were going to talk about what's missing later, but like if you haven't already seen this, like it's Mirage and Imperial are not here in any way. It's like Hammer Spark.
We'll get there. We still have like 3 cards. 3 cards.
Yeah, one thing I do want to
unban.
Yeah, one thing I do want to say is it does also feel like Bandai very specifically don't want decks to coalesce in make this level 6. Like when they were hitting like the Anubis Merva, it was like, oh yeah, or like when they hit the full line of the Gabu stuff, it was like, okay, we don't like it when the entire bottom end of every deck looks the exact same. But they also don't like it when every unique pile turns into generic level 6. When every single armor deck turns into Magnamon, that's kind of cringe. Admittedly, they haven't given us any other options besides make Magnamon, but like it didn't matter what armor you were playing into, because it turned into Magnamon X at the cost of 3 memory.
I remembered one thing I wanted to say, because we're about to go into more of the cards where it feels more relevant, but a lot of the rationales they give in some of these descriptions they talk about restricting diversity.
Yeah.
And it's technically different from how they talked about restricting design space stuff in the past. Like, I feel like Marcia said, like they're clearly not crazy about hitting secrets and super rares. Like that's obvious now. But also, I feel like most of the time Bandai makes their ban list decisions based on not what's the broken card in the deck, but because like they've talked about this, they're 6 or so sets ahead of us, right? Like they know what's coming. So if they're hitting Numemon antibody, for example, and not Monzemon antibody, for example, there's got to be something that this card is more broken with than Monzemon. I'm sick of watching the like terrible takes of like, real ones know they hit the wrong card. It's like real ones know that you're not on the payroll at the Bandai office. What are you talking about?
I don't even think you have to be on the payroll in the Bandai office to realize that being able to pick up any Numemon in name means that Numemon is incredibly sticky when it absolutely had no business being sticky.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. I think in the case of things like this, and also the stuff like Hammer Spark and Louis, it's like some of these cards die because whatever they do restricts what they can print in the future, or like where they're willing to accommodate giving those restrictions. So like Patamon obviously is a restricts in the future kind of card, but like they're clearly about to do something where they don't want blue to have Hammer Spark.
Yeah. Also, like the Numemon Monzai is like I think a little bit more complicated than that. Like, I do understand that like they don't want to kill the spirit of like Nume, and they still want you to be able to play like a Numemon adjacent, like not adjacent, but like they still want you to play
Puppets.
a Numemon deck that is like more thoughtfully like paced and has something going for it. And I think like Monzai X is sort of like the card that contributes to that idea. Like, it's like, okay, this is your first like payoff is like, okay, you're playing the Numemon deck, you get to cheat out a level 3 and apply some lingering DP minus. It's also all turns. The main thing is that like one Nume X like ESS is like fine because you can usually account for like the 2 memory that you're losing from Platinum. But then it's like when they have like multiple of them out, it's like now you're floating into like multiple things and like, only like certain cards actually would deal with the board. So for example, like Crimson
Blaze or nothing, right?
Yeah. And then that means that like decks don't have to pivot into playing Crimson Blaze, or only decks that play Crimson Blaze are then like somewhat viable, or like decks that, play like the play by effect floodgate rookies as well, like those in combination with like removal then become a bit more efficient. And I think they want more decks to be able to handle like these like top tier strategies. And I think I think if you scroll up, they literally have a line on Awakening that's like, the above play is very powerful and creates situations that many decks can't handle, right?
Yeah.
And they want most decks to be able to handle most decks.
I think that is, like, kind of when we talked about the Numemon, like the instant value of like a spark versus the overwhelming consistency. Like some people just do not perceive consistency as a problem. And whilst Monze X was offensive because, it plays a thing for free, sometimes a floodgate, then like clears your board. And if you have the audacity to try and clear them back, Nume X basically makes it so you can't answer their board. And it's like a consistency versus immediate payoff kind of thing, where they've chosen to hit the consistency of Nume, so that way when you try and go band for band, you can keep up, because they have like an insurance loan that like the bank is bailing them out every single time that you answer their board, whereas you are paying out the ass to rebuild every time they Monze X you.
It means decks like, it's like the balance is not saying that you can't play Numemon. The balance is basically saying that if you play Numemon, there are now repercussions, or like it makes it so that like decks like Gallantmon that on paper should have a favorable matchup, now they're not getting fucking like cucked by.
I don't pop a 4 and it turns into a 7 anymore.
Yeah, and I lost 2 memory.
Yeah.
Right? Like it means that like, my heavy removal deck, decks that the identity of my deck is to fight for board and like clear things, but I'm trading damage for doing so. At least you're getting rewarded a little bit.
Yeah, if I spend 7 to clear your board, it better clear your board.
It also means that deletion isn't terrible anymore. Like we were in a position where like Swordstrip, Bounce, Bot deck were like the only really good forms of removal. Now we're back to like, deletion has a place.
Yeah, I agree. The one thing I want to say as well about like Nomonze is that I think it's notable that they chose not to hit the yellow puppet. I think obviously with the puppet cards being printed right now for Arisa, a Monzemon is not out of the question, and Monze X has put out Shumon is super legit. And it's clearly a card that they don't mind being in the game. And like I said before, it's like you mentioned earlier, they want most decks to be able to deal with most cards. I feel like that is true with a lot of cases. There have been notable, like, I feel like ever since like EX3, like I feel like Hydramon is like a really great bookend for this, where it's like Hydramon is the first card I remember in Digimon where it's like truly, maybe more fair to say Mother D Reaper and like Gatekeeper, but like there are some cards they have printed over the years where it's truly just like, oh no, like your deck can't out this, it's over for you. And they don't make them all the time anymore, but it sucked that this one was a level 4.
Yeah.
And like, your deck should lose to Hydramon if all of your stuff is like, I have to turn sideways to interact with you. But like, also your deck shouldn't lose to this 0 cost evolution level 4. Like that feels like a tipping point. But yeah, again, I don't know. The other thing is like, again, like I said, like if they're designing future cards, they're probably either printing more puppet things that might use Monzemon, or they're printing more in waves of Numemons. Like, dude, they're literally continuing Digimon Seekers with the new manga. So if they're about to give us more Tamahime Satsuki stuff, I don't think it's impossible for the next set of Numemon cards to be built around Monze X and not whatever this nightmare was. So right. I just, to an extent, I trust what they're doing.
We have like half an hour less?
Yeah, there's more or less. There's TK left, and then we're basically ready.
Okay.
They hit the 3-cost TK. I think this is like the best hit
I think
you could
it's
have
a good
given
hit.
the deck. Yeah, I know all the yellow players are really mad, but like I think this card's an abomination.
That card is like super stupid.
It either has to be this or Patamon, and I think that this
This is
allows
fine.
this
Well,
allows
card
Patamon to be a high roll like it was supposed to be.
Yeah.
You know what really is like degenerate about TK is not just that it's like the card that sets up your Patamon, it's the card that sets up anything that cares about security go up and security go down at the same time. Like if TK didn't get to count as a security being removed, and like that was something unique to the Kari from 15 or whatever, I could have conceptually seen how they made this more interesting. But like this card is all of yellow vaccine. Like there's no reason to play any of the other waves of support. Like this card works better with Anju Amon Ace than Kari does. Why?
Yeah. It's kind of stupid. I think like it's another problematic tamer in multiples. Like 4-cost TK has diminishing returns, like as a memsetter, like you get a piece, but then like every single one after that, you're effectively like fetching things from the security. You're not, you already gained your 2 memory by putting yourself at 3, but you're not like using it as like an extender beyond that. Like this just means, okay, my first TK costs 2, my second TK costs 1, my third TK doesn't cost anything, and if I'm not playing another TK, it means that every time I'm interacting with security, I'm giving myself that amount of memory plus however many of these I have out.
Yeah.
Also, there's 2 things that like this kind of does, which is by limiting the TK, it hits the Patamon, but it also hits Emissary. And by hitting the TK means that they have to play other TK names that are not this one. So that means that Emissary...
Otherwise they can't recover.
Yeah, like Emissary will, to recover 1, you need to play more expensive TK. So that means that when eventually the yellow deck fix their security and the Patamon is allowed to go off, like it's like, oh, I'm like behind and I'm like catching up, as opposed to I'm now super ahead.
Yeah. I've been in camp fuck Emissary this whole time, and that was because I didn't think they'd hit TK, so I'm stoked.
That's where I was like, oh, Emissary is the obvious choice. But then I'm like,
there's no way they'll kill the TK that everybody plays 4 of all the time. But no, like this is perfect. Like,
it is my slight...
It takes away the solitariness of these decks.
Yeah, it is my like. It's one of those, because Awakening comes first on the ban list, like scrolling to Awakening and going, fuck, armor vaccine, like vaccine armor's killed that like Magnamon extender for me, because they still have Awakening. They're still just gonna go Ace and then Awakening into the Magna. Like if they care enough, they're gonna do that. But now it's
a big difference between it being in security and in hand, but I get what you mean.
I mean, if you could load it there, in
that is
theory.
True, that is
so
true.
like that's the thing. Like if they didn't hit the TK, like scrolling to the Awakening and stopping, going, well, fuck, they've hit my shit, and then they get away with it because they're just gonna do this and this, and you scroll down, and they go, oh, they shot TK too.
Yeah.
You know what, Manda, I was not familiar with your game. My fault.
I will say they do have one line. Okay.
It does hit, like, it hits everything that is, like, problematic, because this is technically the enabler. Like, this hits the Patamon, the Emissary, and this hits, like, the
Ruin Mode,
name.
Venus.
Ruin Mode and Venus both getting taken down is such a big deal.
Yeah, like, I think this is, like, I'm willing to entertain, like, to see where this goes. This is a good hit by Bandai, I think.
It also does mean they can print new TKs that aren't objectively immediately worse than this one.
Yeah.
There are crazy TKs though. Like TK is the name for tamer cards.
Kari.
TK Cody is bananas.
TK or Kari. Like
TK, yeah, I mean Kari's been amazing the whole time, but like all the good TKs are in the one color, dude. Like they have no trouble with TK.
I can see TK Cody being...
It just costs 4, right? That's the difference. This costing a fake is the big difference maker.
What was the thing that you wanted to highlight on the blurb?
Oh, I think it's hilarious. So I have referenced the rationale that they discuss when they talk about like why they want to hit certain cards or why they choose certain things. And this is the first time they've ever said this take game too long. Even back when they hit Yellow Hybrid, they were like, Yellow Hybrid is just, it's been too good for too long. But like Yellow Hybrid's decisive win con was like make 5 hybrids and swing them all on the same turn. They hate this card, and it's because it is the time rules in Japan, if you are not familiar, are best of 1, and it's if there's no winner, it's a double loss. And so there's match fixing terrorism being done with these cards to just stall games out. It's disastrous. Like, if we think that there are entire pools of decks who like just cannot hang with the fact that they have to do 7 damage, and conceptually having something like this diminish the amount of memory that they can get while healing, like to make a trade-off come through, I think would be interesting. Because Angels is really good, and I want Angels to be the way that they take Vaccine in the future.
Yeah,
I agree.
It represents a lot of like more interesting
Dominimon.
Dominimon is so different from everything else they've done in yellow this whole time, and it's like Lord Knight 2 but with an archetype design, which is like really interesting. And by doing this to TK, it's like, well, now they're freed to make Angel exclusive stuff to do that. So I there's a TK and Kari that literally does Angel stuff. That this card is kind of like, I could see that being an exchange. So, but I think it's funny that like I think of all the things they ever write in these little blurbs, I have never seen anything that's more like, oh, that's kind of bait, Bandai, than like, oh, it makes the game take longer because they get memory when they hit recovery +1. It's like, yeah, man, it is annoying that the Seraphimon evolved for 0, but like that's not why the deck was broken.
All right, last card we got Gabumon.
Yeah, very short jail sentence.
It's really good. Purple Melga is real. I think there are now enough Garurumons as of 15 and 16 where you can like have enough things that evolve over Gabumon name that I can conceptually see them do it. There's this Gabumon, there's the ST15 Gabumon, which is this what kind of nerfed, except as the starter main. There's the one-off Gabu X, and then you can fill it out with the other Gabu X if you need. You can play 4 and 4 of the Garurumons that go over Gabumon, and then the one Garu X. And then all of a sudden, you now have a fully fleshed out like Purple Melga. And Purple Sunamon is a war criminal, and it's one of those eggs that we talked about getting hit.
I mean, I'm like not that pressed about this Gabumon. Like, are there purple decks that like swing and then suspend a couple times so they get a bit more filter? Sure, but like it's fine. I think this is like one of the few good like Gabumons that can actually come off the ban list. I still don't want like the deletion one. That one can rot in hell. Yeah. And Eismon, I don't want you to cycle through like a quarter of your deck on one interaction.
Yep. Especially when Lilith is about to get its crazy wave of support, and like purple pitch one, draw one.
This card's fine. Do you have anything you want to talk about, Andrew, about?
No, I feel like I felt like when the Gabumons were at however many and every purple or blue deck was running them, it was annoying. So it's like, yeah, hit all of them. I'm not even going to pretend I could tell the difference between all of them. Just like, yeah, hit them all. Now I'll be curious to see if they if that, resilient players are just going to find that this is still the optimal draw and pitch one package, and you should just abandon all like creativity and just put the dogs back in which case back in jail he goes for reoffending. But for now, I'm so indifferent on the card because I either don't see him at all or he's everywhere for a bit and needs to be kennelled again. So he's out for now. If when Lilith and other things are good, they just go, why would we bother playing archetypal support when we can, when attacking, draw one, pitch one? Then we have problems again.
I mean, like first you said, right? Like as long as it's not the other one that is like truly broken in those kinds of decks where they delete their own shit. Like the fact that this one is on attack and to get the payoff, it's got to be like multiple times. Like that's so narrowcast towards a Melga deck.
Especially with aces around.
Yeah, I just can't help but feel like
you can't really swing your purple Garurumon, like belligerently anymore.
Yeah, so I'm into the idea that they're gonna conceptually buff the adventure cast all into like a relevant place, and like if this is like purple Gabumon based is like a thing again, like
it is really interesting that so far they have actually not missed for any of their like unbans. Like so far Savior Huck has not been incredibly problematic like it could have been. Tommy
has made waves in 18. I won't like bullshit.
Okay, in 18, in 18 support, right? He's doing a little bit more, but like right now for us he's done like
the thing is, it's like Tommy Himi is weird because like why would you play that blue hybrid when you could play the other blue hybrid that uses the Ukomons better? So conceptually, post ban list, the TommyNT variant could be stronger.
Yeah, I'll be curious to see
we'll
that.
see how it goes.
And especially with the new 18 with the new Tommies, so you can actually.
TommyNT is also crazy with Hexablow, so it's like
I'll tell you why. It's for idiots like me that are like, dude, I love Frontiers. You know, give me. I want to involve on all of them kids. You know, like I don't want to play Digimon the regular way. I love Saipan.
The first time somebody showed me like it's the what's he called? Korikakumon, and it's like because the Tommy is a red tamer, you can use Atomic Inferno. So they're like hexablowing your board and then Atomic Infernoing before they evolve. It's so great.
I love it.
Yeah, I actually do like. I make fun of him like frequently. Like Kumamon is school shooter Digimon, but like Tommy, I think Tommy's fun.
Andrew, you play Ragnalord. Like this won't ever affect you in any way.
I play Stun Hybrid as well.
I know, but like the TommyNT, like the reasons this card was degenerate is because it was like, yeah, I'll I'll strip your sources, and you're like, I'll just load him in again. I don't give a shit. Or like you don't even check him in security.
Yeah, no, he's getting cooked.
It's a 90-10 for those kids.
But it is funny so far that like 3 cards coming off the ban list, and right now in English they have not done any. I doubt that Gabumon's going to do anything for a while until when it comes off.
So glad people didn't like. I mean, I don't think Bandai reads the Twitter dudes, but like the people talking about Greymon X were just psycho, man.
No,
Greymon X, Dora
Greymon, I couldn't believe it.
I don't remember what it was, but there was some man who were like, "Oh, it'd be fun to bring Dora Greymon back." Would it be fun? What
does fun mean to you?
You're romanticizing the idea of like losing to Alpha, and it's like
it's a bad mirror too. Like if you play that in Doragora, you just feel terrible when your opponent does it to you. Like there's no winning.
It's just like so we're complaining about the BT9 decks, but we want to bring back the BT9 cards, like.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's one of those that you didn't have like you've probably had like a mid Alphamon that would like miss sequence even with 4 Dora Greymons. We don't have that. We know this card is problematic at 1. We don't need to see more than 1. Absolutely not.
Do we want to cover the?
Yeah,
I was gonna say. So what I think we cover archetypes that are not here first. If you guys are cool with that,
sure.
I think they forgot Mirage. I think they forgot Imperial.
Me and Tom could have like a whole fucking video on like BT11 Mirage,
I think eventually the card will go, but I also
it should have gone.
Yeah,
that's the thing.
Listen,
it should have gone.
I didn't. We had a conversation about this yesterday. That it was on Discord text. I was just like, there's no point. It doesn't get anywhere. It's not that I don't think this card is broken. This is one of the most broken Digimon cards ever printed. I think the problem is that in the context of what they're going to do, where the reason this card should get hit is because it's a generic and not because it's the card that you would take away to make Mirage normal. I think the problem with Mirage is that like it just has it's like hanging out with your friend that's always like, I'll bring a gun to school. Like they're constantly always like, I will turn into an OTK that can kill you, and there's there's no tipping point.
There's different. For me, the main reason to hit this card, it would be hint. There's
a problem forever too. I'm all about killing it because it's been good for 2 years. All about that.
The main thing is like they should have hit it because it's been good for a while. And when you have another ban list, if you're gonna if it was like a 2 or 3 card ban list, I would care less. But they're clearly committed to like reshaping the format. So you need to take care of the decks that are under the top decks, which means that we're going to be stuck in Mirage format again. Great for the Mirage Andes. They get to keep playing the deck. And, the deck, the deck gets different kinds of tools and blah blah blah. But the point is other decks format move forward. We're just gonna go back to Mirage being good, and that means that Mirage contests Imperial, and then then we have to build around Mirage again, and then Mirage gatekeeps decks that if your egg says draw 1 for taking an action, you're fucked.
I will say this. I agree with you in almost every way that the problem with Mirage is that it's sticking around and it's a degenerate thing to have to play the game with. My personal opinion is that they should kill the OTK part of this deck because there are decks that can interact with Mirage that don't auto-lose to it. And I think it's fine for there to be stopgaps in a format. There were a lot of decks back in the day that can't out Magna X. That's a skill issue. And so, I don't necessarily... Digicross is about to come back, dude. They're going to kick Mirage Galgamon's ass. But I also think part of the problem is that like in neglecting to tidy up the format, they leave things around that can produce like long-term consequences to like what decks, like they're about to print a new wave of blue cards, right? Like Blue Flare is getting stuff, and mercifully all their stuff says Blue Flare tag, which has been really good. They're not letting you use a lot of generics, but like generic blue good stuff will steal this card. Like they've stolen Zudomon, like they have stolen Hexablow. So there's a lot of like future proofing that they aren't doing by removing problem cards like this. I will say the argument I understand about why Mirage isn't here, I don't agree with it, but I understand, is that the things that they have hit have meant that Takamikazuchi is a real ass deck, and like it is faster than Mirage and is net favored into Mirage. So like I think to them they're like, well, why would anyone play Mirage if you're going to lose to Lugamon? But nobody plays Lugamon.
I don't know. I think it is a genuine disregard for EU. I think they have looked at NA results, they have looked at thing results, and they go, it's not really a problem. And then there's like, the wealth of just European just massacre. Like I also think just the fact that it can do. I hate when decks can do both. It was one of the things I complained about Numemon. Like, why can it swarm and like aggro and then control you if they don't feel like it? This Mirage that's sitting next to it, I'm looking at it like we all call it the roleplay one, but like looking at it, if they want to keep Mirage's OTK identity, let them. Let them do that, and then resolve this when digivolving and do the thing. Like let them kill me. Okay, they earned it. Or get rid of this.
They never earn it. They never. Mirage is the most. They never earn it. Blue deck ever.
Earn in. Look, they BT9 gold snap.
Mirage is like even their tamers are draw ones.
Okay, we have like what 15 minutes left before
we
15 to 20 minutes. But yeah, I just want to say like if they want to make it an OTK deck, commit. Don't give them a level 5 removal that bounces security if they don't, is a lingering floodgate, and then does what this
As long as they commit to a direction, I think it's fine. But as of right now, it has no direction, and Mirage is just frustrating.
My thing is not even like the direction. It should have just been cleanup, right? Like we can talk about Imperial right now. Imperial got no hits.
Yeah, Imperial's Hammer Spark hit is a joke.
And it's like, okay, why are they so okay with like not hitting Imperial? Because like the deck has been clearly performing in terms of like the local, I guess at tournaments,
cards in the regional pack, dude.
At locals, at bigger tournaments, at least Japanese bigger tournaments, it hasn't really.
It was doing okay in Malaysia though.
It's been doing okay in like some places. The deck is flawed in the sense that it has like a set amount of speed, right? Like Imperial is like, I'm the slowest deck for like 3 turns. After that, I'm the best deck in the game.
Imperial also has like a negative fun game plan into Venus, and Venus is in basically every hybrid deck in 18 because like yellow hybrid uses it, blue hybrid uses it, and purple hybrid uses it. Yeah. So like there are counters to Imperial's bullshit, but like
Venus just like shits on Imperial.
Yeah, but like, isn't that another card they could have cleaned up? You know what I mean? Like, we just keep moving the needle down the road.
Yeah, like how many Imperial people do you have to put away?
Imperial loses to like establish like lingering floodgate.
Yep.
Right, like, can't resolve your when digivolvings or like stops you from playing things out. Like, as long as Imperial
metallic German.
Yeah, like as long as they can resolve their cards, they win. They lose to cards that stop them from resolving. Like it's like they beat every defensive line under the fucking sun. They once they have 2 Daikens, they have effectively like the best comeback factor in the game. Mm-hmm. They have like the best security. They have varied forms of protection. They have like the best form of damage mapping. They now can go effectively infinite.
Yep.
They have like they literally have everything. They're one of the slowest decks for like 3 turns.
I think genuinely, I would hit this.
BT 12 pieces.
Okay, cool. I was gonna say this. The other one, I like the 4s. I also think that BT16 Wormmon is kind of toxic.
I think it's either that. No, I think
the problem with like taking Imperial off the board is if they rebuild from trash now, what's the point? And I think like conceptually, if you restricted Wormmon from the BT12 cards, I could see it being kind of useful. But like,
I want to see what Andrew has to say.
I think that Wormmon is more egregious when you don't have to pay for him. When you slam him for 3 and then pay 1 and then do full line, if you're able to keep turn and do full line, or even if you're not, end of turn, bada bing. Being able to play that shit for 0 and then full combo from there is stupid, especially when this is a unconditional, basically, gain 1 memory. So most of the time you're playing the Toxic Wormmon that lets you rebuild for free, keeping turn because you won't be able to get the end of turn DNA. And if you have multiple of them, you just one of them has to be the end of turn DNA and you're fine. I think this card, it doesn't have to go down to 1, but I think it being at 4 is just so obnoxious. Liam this week took all of the good dragon modes out of his list. All of them. He was playing, unironically, the fucking green Imperial. Like, the mono, this fucker, and still got 3rd. Because it doesn't matter at the top end, because eventually 2 Daikens is going to spit out 15 Vmons, and they're going to find you everything. And you will win the game. So I think the ability to every single turn play out a free searcher that returns to the hand if it's not used for full combo is not okay. And it also gives you a memory. So sure, it's not like a start of main give you a memory, but it will gain you a memory as part of its game plan. The fact that the new Davison Ken, the BT17 one, is a mem setter and does stuff and sees 0 play in Imperial because they don't need to go to 3 anymore. They can just donkey roll you off of...
You heard it here first. This is an armor card. Okay, you're going to Magna X and then you swing and then you get to your unaffected blocker. Trust me, guys. This is a. You heard it here now. Okay, this is an armor card.
Look, I have put every single Davison Ken in armor so far. At some point, I was gonna fuck around with this. So you're preaching to the wrong guy. Like, I keep putting Davison Kens where they do not belong, and I think that this one is the most egregious one we've ever had.
I think it's the combination of this card and Pyldramon that like kind of take Imperial. Like, I don't
strip 3. I forgot about that.
Yeah, I don't want them to hit the Pyldramon with Partition. I think the Pyldramon is broken, but I think they should have a broken thing, and it's cool that it's Pyldramon for a change.
Yeah. Okay.
Also, the Pyldramon's
only... Why is it Rosemon Burst mode? Why does it stop unsuspending?
Well, but it's only for things that with less sources, right? Why
no, it's only suspend things with less sources. Like, the Rosemon Burst mode is
it's like, why do they have a way to interact with the thing that normally goes like, bro, I got you, I'm too big?
Yeah, like, sometimes they have to go slam rookie, level 4, play one of the sting monsters. That's a 3 stack Imperial. That shit is not suspending anything real. But Davis and Kenjamin just kills every mega and puts them down to a short stack, and you go, oh shit.
Yeah, to be completely honest with you, Marcio is right that they should just hit the BT4 or BT12 level 4s.
My thing with those pieces take. My thing with those pieces is that like they're effectively 2 memory each. Like you combine with a Daiken, and you know they let you keep turn and like play from there. If the point of the deck was like, okay, I have to play this Wormmon, and my Wormmon will evolve for 1, and then my other piece will evolve for 3, and you know, I've spent effectively 3 memory to make a Pyldramon, and then maybe my Tamer will refund 1 of that memory, right?
Yeah.
Right now, that's not the case. Right now, it's I play 2 pieces out for free, I evolve them, but my end of turn progresses will make up that memory back. I get to keep turn on my Pyldramon and also evolve into a dragon mode for like a multiple axis defensive line.
And that's not even talking about how ST9 dragon mode makes the BT12 cards problematic, because this game does not have hard once per turns.
Yep. I think like there's different ways to go about like hitting Imperial. Like I think the easiest way would be, okay, they don't want to hit the card from BT16, they hit the BT12 pieces, because then the quality of XVs and Stingmons are like, okay, you can play the 3-cost Stingmon, you can play the dual color Stingmon, that's probably your Stingmon lineup.
Yeah.
You can play like the EX1 XV, and you can play like the dual color one, which like are a lot worse, because then you have to pick between DP or jamming.
I think getting rid of the memory printer ones as well would allow Imperial to play control before it plays aggro. Again, it's the same thing. They're playing control and aggro at the same time, and that shit is stupid. So like I actually am starting to lean more, as much as I think this card Loki is a problem. I think, like you said, the memory printer ones, I think, are actually maybe slightly more flexible, paradoxically.
It's also, they give you the best DSSs. They give you piercing and jamming.
Yeah. That's the thing for me, is like, I feel like they won't hit both. I would settle for Stingmon, I guess, but like I don't expect them to. I feel like when they look
fine. Stingmon would actually be okay, because it means that they don't have piercing.
Yeah.
So they can swing into things.
300.
Yeah, but like they hate hitting consistency boosters that aren't already crazy out of line, and I like as much as I am an Imperial hater, I do not think Imperial's consistency is out of line. I think the problem with Imperial is that it gets to play like with
They have above average consistency.
Yeah, their
yeah, they do. I'm
consistency's on
sick.
this
The
card.
argument that they all brick all the time is crazy to me because they draw 20 cards a turn. But the actual like the weakness to the deck is that it can't play under lingering floodgates, like Marcio said. And so
Also,
like
it does fuck all like for 3 turns. Like it literally goes turn 1, I guess I'll
Rookie
evo rookie Daiken.
Yeah.
Turn 2, I'll evolve for 2 pass. Turn 3,
and then turn 3, I floodgate you and you're dead.
and then turn 3 is like do I have all my pieces? Ah man, I'm bricked. I guess I'll play another Daiken. And then
let me push out and see if my rookie finds the piece. I found it for 0. Ah, you're dead, bro. Unlucky.
I will say, like, I think it's not necessarily great that the way that you beat this deck is like lingering DP minus or lingering security minus. But there are funny things in this format that interact favorably into Imperial. If you have not had a chance to play Pulsemon Imperial, that matchup is hilarious. Kazuchimon just takes this deck out back and shoots it in the head.
Well,
like,
I have some unfortunate news for
no.
you about that. It doesn't. I
like,
was editing a video that proves it
unless-
doesn't.
Unless they open the nuts and kill you on turn 4, right?
Well, let's strip your Leon, so you're fucked.
Yeah, they just cook your shit. It's not good.
They take out Leon, they take out BBDmon, and then you're like,
The Digivol's cool though. They got.
Oh, no, I meant the sec minus, but like I get what you mean.
Yeah,
no.
like you'll watch.
This
Maybe
is
Terry
like
played it
for,
wrong, but like Liam was playing with his arm tied behind his back.
I think the thing is, I think that's the problem with Imperial. Like this is the best deck conceptually, right? Like after this ban list, this stands to be the number 1 guy. The problem, I think
red base gives a run.
Yeah, Igaru.
Yeah, because like
Aura played
the
by a
red base has
competent person.
Gatsumon.
There's also both SOC decks. Both
Yes,
SOC decks are
decks
very, very real.
Yeah.
My 2 cents is that the thing with Imperial that became the most frustrating part of it is that it sort of stopped mattering who was playing it. I think the cards have become very like Numemon-esque, that you just resolve them in order, like resolve your when Digivolvings to your deck. And it's become kind of degenerate.
You started losing to the deck, not the player.
Yeah, you start losing to their first security was Davis or Daiken, and I lost.
So like, okay, trying to like do like the last 5 minutes of like what else is left in the format, right? So we have like Imperial's good, Ancient Guru is good. I think
post ban list, Ancient Greymon looks great.
The Greymon looks a bit better.
Hybrid looks pretty sweet post ban list.
It looks pretty good.
Fenrir
hybrid. Yeah, Fenrir Gora. Armor, it'll take a bit of time to solve, I think.
But once they solve it, it'll be fine.
It'll be fine.
Demon Lords.
I don't know about Tyrant, guys. People are like, oh yeah, but like, deck's better now. The deck has a fucking pretty horrendous like Imperial matchup, and like one of the things
your Gara matchup's okay though, right?
My Gara matchup is fine. My Gora matchup I have to tech for. My Fenrir matchup is probably fine. The main thing is that like Imperial really fucking sucks.
Yeah.
And Mirage is like also kind of awkward. Demon Lords is probably a little bit better now.
Yeah, I think Demon Lords is like going to be a top 3 deck of the format.
How does it work with the Rosemont burst mode if you're a bug? Because you're protected whilst you're sideways.
I'm unaffected.
Yeah,
so you
sideways.
get to unsuspend.
Yeah, I unsuspend.
But the thing for Tyrant is that they get all their stuff stripped by Daiken, and then
I just go Daiken. Like they picked out the redirects from Daiken, they take out the Modimon end of attack, and any DP, any alternates DP.
We really keep coming back to this Source Strip card being the toxic card in that deck, huh? Isn't that weird?
I would say they're both problematic, but they're not going to hit the BT16 card.
No, they won't.
No,
but I also worry they won't hit XV and Stingmon. I don't know.
Demon Lords is probably good. Ragna's probably a bit better now.
No, Imperial didn't get hit, and Imperial was our worst matchup, so...
Yes, but I'm saying, like, you can fight against everything else.
Yeah, so I was talking to Jill about this, and we're both of the opinion that all of the matchups that we were good into got hit, and our matchup that we were bad into
got better.
it's untouched. So now, like,
Shine is probably okay.
Yeah, Shine. There's a bunch of like the tier like 2.5 like rogue gang that gets so like Eosmon loves this ban list. Tyrant loves it, or sorry, Eosmon loves this. Shine loves this. Demon Lords. Well, Demon Lords wasn't rogue.
Harrier, I'm a bit like iffy on.
The one I keep seeing people talk about as like a piece that like conceptually could come back more into the format is that this is like it's sort of the chance you're gonna have to play Omnimon.
Yeah, Omni is like a better position.
I am interested to see how much Omnimon sticks out. I think the thing Omnimon will do is it is great into everything that isn't Imperial, and then it will die to Imperial.
Birds is like maybe okay, unironically.
Yeah,
like,
Pally Ace is your only problem now, right?
Okay. I will maybe cook up birds again, because like that deck is like very close to, like that deck is like one, it became one of my favorite decks like of all time.
Yep.
Bluebird
Great Snova day and night. Great Snova day night stuff gets a lot. It's playing pure day night cycle is better, but without Louis, the toolbox stuff is worse.
What were you saying, Andrew?
I was gonna say, Bluebirds, like Changpeng's all fine. We'll probably talk about the other Chinese inspired deck on the next one. Diaboro is still fine. Like they got one new card.
No, they got a ton of new stuff.
No. I've spoken to Johnny. They got one card.
Those cards are fine. Those cards are good. People are just like
mid. Why would you give it?
You know what we didn't? Sorry.
Okay, whatever.
We're like out of time, but they also didn't hit Adamon, and that sucks.
Oh yeah, they didn't do that. That was but they were never going to do that. That was like an actual complicated choice restrict that they would have had to do, and I don't think I don't think they were going to do that. But yeah, this was episode 23 of the podcast. Let's be real, because it's like an hour and 15. So yeah, happy 23rd episode of the podcast. We'll be pre-recording Friday's episode.
Yeah, we could almost watch a whole day of the show.
Yeah,
which is a joke. They're all like 3 hours long.
Yeah, actually, no, you can watch more than a full day of the show. The Misplay for Game Binge podcast.
Enjoy the weekend with idiots.
But yeah, we'll be pre-recording Friday because we're busy. We will talk about the Bing chilling loop. Next.
Is that what we're calling it?
Sir.
That's awesome.
That's what they're calling it. Yeah.
That's awesome. Wait, that's the one good thing about this loop is that it has a good fucking name.
Yeah, so we'll be back. Thanks for joining me, fellas.
Baba booey.
Good luck with your trade.
That's the merch. That's the merch. We just have like a little like shirt with like a pocket, and it's like the word like Baba Booey like sticking out of the pocket.